Let's talk about high dynamic range video, or HDR video for short, and how it really is the future of video. Every filmmaker, videographer, or whatever you want to call us, we all have the same goal in mind, and that is to get the most out of the images that we can possible. This is the reason why most of us are so obsessed with buying the next new camera. Sometimes we're chasing resolution, and sometimes we're just chasing higher frame rates. But for me, it has always been dynamic range. Now, dynamic range refers to the camera's ability to successfully, that's the key word there, successfully capture the lightest and darkest areas of the image without losing detail. So then, how does this compare to HDR? Well, we're gonna get into that, but before we can do that, we need to get an HDR monitor in order to truly see the real difference. For this, we're going to be taking a look at the Dell UltraSharp UP3221Q. This is a 32-inch monitor, well, 31.5-inch monitor as the model suggests, and this is the world's first professional monitor with 2000 mini LED backlit direct dimming zones. Now, in this box, you'll find everything you need, obviously including the monitor and a very heavy-duty stand, and even a base that is fairly heavy itself, but I appreciate it in a monitor of this caliber. As you'd expect, you'll have all the cables that you need, including power, display cables, and a Thunderbolt 3 cable, which is not only great for the video signal, but it also will charge your device at 90 watts, and it can send important information back and forth. Setup is super easy too. All you need to do is just attach the base to the stand and then snap the stand to the back of the monitor. From there, you simply just take off the protective cover, and like that, you're ready to go. Just attach the power cable and your display cable of choice, and you're ready to power the entire thing up. So now that we have our HDR monitor all set up, let's break down what is HDR anyway. Amazon, yes, that Amazon, says high dynamic range video technology is the next great leap forward towards reproducing what the naked eye sees in terms of color and contrast between the brightest whites and the darkest blacks. HDR video is about recreating images realism from the camera through post-production to distribution and to the display. Technically speaking, HDR video standards encompass more than just higher peak brightness and lower black levels. HDR also supports a wider color palette, new transfer functions, and greater bit depth. So how do you capture it? Well, you'd be surprised to know that a lot of cameras can actually already capture HDR video. If you have a Sony mirrorless camera, for example, and you've ever shot in the HLG, well, that's technically an HDR format. Even the newest iPhones can shoot in Dolby Vision and now are filming in HDR to get the most out of those tiny sensors. And this is one of the reasons I love filming in the Red RAW so much, is because the Red RAW can allow you to change your color space when working in it in post. All you have to do is switch from a Rec 709 to Rec 2020 and you're all set. But I hear you, Brandon, why does this matter? Well, first off, let's get back to the monitor and I'll show you. First of all, in order to truly see how you can benefit from shooting HDR, you have to play back your content on an HDR monitor. In the case of the Dell, you're getting a 4K 60Hz monitor with a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio. With 2000 mini LEDs, this gives the monitor that ability to give dimming zones, which helps minimize the distracting halo effect. Add in the peak brightness of 1000 nits, and you have a monitor that gives you true to life visuals that from time to time, I would find myself just wanting to go and watch HDR content on it, which was probably one of my favorite ways to actually just use the monitor. But on a serious note, this monitor has been working great, especially with our Dell Precision 5750. As we've shown in the past, we love attaching our 5750 to a monitor in order to get our edits done in DaVinci. And now that we have a monitor that has HDR, we get the most out of our HDR workflow. The setup is simple. It's just a single cable. With the NVIDIA graphics card and the power of the Precision 5750 partnered with this monitor, editing HDR videos is a breeze. Now, obviously, when it comes to working in HDR, you need to have an accurately colored monitor. And this is where one of my favorite features and kind of just a wild addition to this monitor really comes in handy. Hidden in the front bezel is a color calibrator, and this will allow you to calibrate the monitor perfectly. The monitor also swivels and tilts, and it even rotates 90 degrees just in case you need a better viewing angle when editing those TikToks. Just kidding. You don't have to do that. But when it comes to getting the most out of an HDR monitor, this thing definitely has got you covered, and it was clearly designed for creative professionals. So now that we have the hardware all lined up, let's break down how we see the difference with HDR. When working within an HDR display, you not only get to see your images with more color information, but you get to see the image in a more dynamic way when it comes to the light and dark areas of the screen. Your brights or your highlights are actually illuminated more, and the blacks are much closer to true blacks, thanks to the local dimming zones. Now that's what gives you something that's actually more true to life. As great as resolution may be, it's dynamic range that allows you to truly control what your audience can see within your image, and HDR just allows you to take more advantage of that. I want to thank Dell so much for sending out this monitor and sponsoring this video. And if you have any follow-up questions about HDR, or really any insights of your own when it comes to working within HDR, share those and let's start a conversation down in the comment section. Thanks so much for checking out this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.